When you study the home front stories of the Second World War long enough, you realize something quickly. Survival wasn't theoretical. It was daily, physical, hands-on work. People weren't prepping for some distant threat. They were adapting in real time, with whatever they had. That's exactly why today we're taking a close look at 9 forgotten WWII heating techniques that kept families warm when furnaces failed. Methods that still carry real value for anyone serious about history, resilience, and practical self-reliance. If you're watching this on the Legacy of Survival channel, make sure you subscribe right now, because this is the kind of knowledge that should never fade from memory, and we're keeping it alive. Let's get right into the techniques that actually worked. The ones households depended on when the power grid was unreliable, coal shipments were rationed, and winters were anything but gentle. How people used radiant mass to hold and release heat long after fires burned down. One of the most dependable wartime heating methods was radiant mass. Families in Europe and Asia used stone hearths, brick ovens, and thick ceramic stoves designed to absorb heat slowly and release it for hours. The principle is simple. High-density material holds heat longer than fast-burning fuel ever could. In homes with no furnace fuel left, people baked their daily bread early, so the residual warmth from the oven kept the kitchen warm through the afternoon. You can apply this today with masonry heaters or even by placing dense stones around a modern wood stove, then bringing those stones into living areas to radiate heat overnight. How trench-style indoor fireboxes provided controlled heat with minimal smoke. In heavily bombed regions, especially during the Blitz, families constructed small, trench-like fire pits inside semi-sheltered areas. These shallow masonry troughs allowed a narrow, controlled flame and channeled smoke through improvised flues. It wasn't elegant, but it worked while keeping fuel consumption incredibly low. If you ever find yourself heating a workshop or off-grid shelter, a similar ground-level firebox, lined with brick, can focus heat upward while reducing drafts. Now, let me tell you how coal dust and binding agents were transformed into slow-burn briquettes. Coal shortages really push people to get inventive, you know. One of the most widespread techniques was mixing coal dust with sawdust, clay, or even potato starch to form homemade briquettes. These burned longer than raw kindling, and quite often were the only heat source households could rely on during ration months. Today, if you process wood and accumulate chips or dust, you can actually recreate these briquettes with a simple mould and air-drying process. They make efficient emergency fuel for stoves or camp heaters. Let's talk about how tin can rocket heaters created intense heat from tiny amounts of wood. Before anyone called them rocket stoves, families were stacking metal tins into vertical burns that concentrated airflow and maximized combustion. These improvised heaters reached high temperatures with twigs and scrap wood, materials that, well, remained accessible during wartime scarcity. If you need a compact emergency heater, the concept still works. A nested metal can system creates directed heat with near-complete fuel burn, providing warmth and a cooking surface at the same time. Here's how insulated bed spaces conserve body heat better than heating entire rooms. Heating the whole house was, more often than not, impossible, so families heated themselves instead. They transformed sleeping areas into microclimates using quilts, straw mattresses, Wool blankets and heavy curtains hung around beds. This wasn't comfort, it was strategy, plain and simple. In modern terms, you can recreate this with reflective emergency blankets, layered bedding, and insulating drapes to reduce the cubic volume your body must warm at night. Survivalists, even now, still use this concept for cold weather camping. So, shared heat living, it really concentrated warmth where families gathered, you know? In many war diaries, you'll read accounts of entire families spending those long, chilly winter evenings in just one room, usually the kitchen. Because, well, keeping one heated space going was so much easier than trying to warm several cold ones. This was energy conservation before we even had a name for it. Anyone getting ready for off-grid living today can use this straight away. Just pick one central living space, seal up any drafts, throw down some rugs on those cold floors, and set your heat source right there. The efficiency gain, honestly, is enormous. Now, let's talk about how oil-wick heaters repurposed household fuels when standard oils ran out. Oil shortages forced people to burn whatever was available: animal fats, fish oils, even reclaimed kitchen grease. Simple ceramic or metal dishes with cloth wicks provided hours of steady flame and warmth, especially in rural or coastal regions. These heaters don't give off much heat individually, but, several placed strategically can raise a room's temperature noticeably. If you ever need a backup light heat source, the method still functions with modern vegetable oils. Here's how heated water bricks, bottles and irons extended warmth through the night. Many wartime homes lacked steady heat at night, so families relied on stored heat in the form of boiled water bottles, heated bricks wrapped in cloth, or even warmed laundry irons placed near the foot of the bed. These simple tools acted as personal radiant heaters. Even today, stainless steel bottles or fire-heated stones can serve the same purpose during camping or home power failures. Let's consider how underground and partially dug-in shelters moderated temperatures naturally. Basements, root cellars, and partially dug-in shelters often stayed far warmer than exposed rooms above ground. Soil acts as a natural insulator, buffering against extreme temperatures. During bombings, families spent long nights in underground shelters that remained survivably warm even without active heating. Anyone building an off-grid retreat can borrow this principle by using earth-bermed construction or situating winter sleeping areas below grade. These techniques didn't rely on luxury, convenience, or modern infrastructure. They relied on physics, ingenuity, and resourcefulness, qualities worth studying and preserving. If this kind of historical survival knowledge is exactly what you come here for, make sure you subscribe to the Legacy of Survival channel and share this guide with someone who appreciates real history and real-world skill.